let the dogs out. Ooh, ooh.
Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com. Your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. Always available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Always available wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Welcome. Pretty big game tomorrow, as it is Tennessee, Alabama. She's Amanda LaFrada. I'm Dave Hooker. 3:37 kick for those of you that pay attention to the exact time. 3:30 tomorrow, Tennessee, Alabama, and I think the biggest game, most anticipated game since, I would say, 1997. And I said that before, and that was Peyton Manning's senior year when they played the University of Florida. So Amanda, first of all, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Dave. I'm doing well. I'm in Arizona. It is 5:30 here.
Yes.
So that's exciting.
There is a time change, and Amanda has to go to a wedding that she's super jazzed about. And I know that there's no place you'd rather be than a wedding in Arizona. Is that fair to
correct.
say?
That is
Yes.
correct. There's no place I'd rather be.
Yes, exactly right. Okay, so a lot on the program today. Jonathan Crompton will join us. We also will visit with Caleb Calhoun here in just a moment. Some news coming out of Tennessee and Josh Heupel's press conference yesterday. A ton of visitors as well, as recruiting never stops. And this will be a big, big weekend for Tennessee, as you might imagine. So there's a lot going on. The Down and Dirty at 30 is brought to you by Honeybee Coffee. Amanda, it's pretty simple. It's just good coffee.
I mean, it really is. It's just really, really good coffee. And I didn't have the forethought, is that correct way to say that? I didn't have the forethought to bring it with me because there's a Keurig here and I don't have those little cups where you can put it in. So I didn't bring it, but still really good coffee. My coffee is probably going to go cold.
Oh, okay. Well, it is fantastic coffee. So they've got locations in Knoxville, but be sure and go to their e-commerce store and you can order online. You can grind it yourself if you would like to, and you can just have fantastic coffee. It's awesome. Good morning, Brittany. How are you? Crazy saying, is there a game? I hadn't heard. Yeah, I think there is a game tomorrow. Again, I say the most highly, there's a little something going on. The most highly anticipated game, I believe, since 1997, Peyton Manning. So let's look at a couple of things, and let's start with Peyton Manning. He will be the guest picker for ESPN. Your thoughts initially, Amanda, on Peyton Manning? This was announced last night. It was on our Twitter page. What are your thoughts on Peyton Manning being the guest picker? We talked about the possible Peyton Manning curse and all that stuff, which I think is silly, but your thoughts.
So my thoughts on this is as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh no, Tennessee fans are going to lose it because it's going to be the Peyton Manning curse and they're going to be upset and everything else. Well, this is the game in their schedule that they're most likely to lose. This is, I mean, if you're going to say there's a game, Tennessee's going to play that they're most likely to lose, it's going to be against Alabama just because of how great Alabama's been and they're undefeated, yada, yada, yada. So if they do, in fact, lose, they're going to blame this on Peyton Manning again. It's just going to be blamed on Peyton Manning.
That's exactly what I thought. And you're right. I mean, I love the fact that you're bringing Peyton Manning back for an Alabama game instead of Florida, obviously. He was able to break a streak against Alabama and in dramatic fashion, and they went on to win, I believe, 7 in a row after Peyton Manning arrived on campus. So I love the fact that you're bringing him back for Alabama, Amanda. But this whole Peyton Manning curse, I want to bring Caleb Calhoun in on this as well. Caleb Calhoun of Off the Hook Sports. You can check his work out. And let's start with you, Caleb. This whole Peyton Manning curse to me is pretty silly. But Amanda's right. It's going to be reinforced if Tennessee loses a game that they're a touchdown underdog to Alabama. If they lose, people are going to say the Peyton Manning curse, which is absolutely silly in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really think there's any curse. The 3 distinct times I remember Peyton Manning attending a football game, and there's been more, but the 3 that stand out it was 2005 when his number was retired against South Carolina. That was a Tennessee team that was unraveling with or without Peyton Manning in the stands. I mean, this is a team that lost to Vanderbilt at home that year, and not a good Vanderbilt team, although they did have Jay Cutler. The other one was 2017 when he was honored for going into the College Football Hall of Fame. It was at home against Georgia. That Georgia team went to the national title, and that's the worst team in Tennessee history. They lost 41-0. And then I remember 2008, he was at that Tennessee-Auburn game, which might have been the worst college football game ever played in the SEC. That Auburn won 14-12 because it was 2 of the worst offenses of all time going against each other in that game. So I agree. This whole curse, I'm like, the only time Peyton Manning was in attendance that I can think that was like an upset loss was Tennessee baseball in the College World, missing a chance to go to the College World Series earlier this year. But again, that's baseball, and I can make the case that I was at a Tennessee basketball game one time where Tennessee beat eventual national champion Florida Gators, and Peyton Manning was in attendance there. So I don't think this curse is real.
No, and you would struggle to find anybody who had more success against Alabama than Peyton Manning. And Peyton is a beloved son at Tennessee, and he should be. And if you want to hold the fact that he didn't beat Florida against him, you can. But he did win an SEC championship, and who wouldn't trade that right now? I mean, I think people want great things, Amanda, out of Nico Iamaleava, but if he had the exact same career as Peyton Manning without beating Florida, but winning an SEC championship and beating Alabama on a regular basis, wouldn't you take that right now?
I think Tennessee fans would take that right now, but I think the whole not beating Florida thing will put a damper on that. I mean, I think Tennessee is to the point where you have to beat Florida in order for them to be happy at all. You just have to.
Right. And I don't think Florida is going to be Florida. I mean, that was a once-in-a-generational type of coach in Steve Spurrier. There have been 2 of those in my lifetime, and it's Steve Spurrier and Nick Saban. Caleb, a couple of MIAs, or maybe not, that we'll see. All that I hear is that Bryce Young will play, at least try. We'll see how long he goes. Josh Heupel said yesterday, preparing for 2 quarterbacks is something that they will have to do. Gerald Mincey at left tackle. Don't really have an idea of whether or not he's going to play. Josh Heupel plays in a nice way. Injuries as close to the vest as anybody. Cedric Tillman, it was reported by WBR that he won't play, and WBR did have that report correct for the LSU game. And they have reported that Jalen McCullough had been at practice, but Josh Heupel didn't confirm that in his press conference yesterday. He just said, I'm not going to go there. So he doesn't need to. Now, that makes me think that Jalen McCullough might play, because I can remember a somewhat similar incident in which there was a bunch of gray area, and it was the infamous Nukees Richardson and what they did when they decided it would be a good time to rob a pilot store, and they realized they only got a hamburger out of it. Well, there was another player whose name escapes me that was the peacemaker in this. And I know that Lane Kiffin at the time thought that he should play. Now, he ended up not playing. You might be able to help me with the name. It was a backup. It was a defensive back. I don't know that he was a backup at the time, but he was kind of emerging on the scene. He was supposed to be the peacemaker. Now, so again,
was that Jansen Jackson?
No, it wasn't Jackson. Jackson was with 3. It was a really
Mike Edwards.
Mike Edwards, yes, it was
Okay.
Mike Edwards. He was supposedly the peacemaker in that, so they wanted to play Mike Edwards. Now, there was so much pressure not to play him. I don't think he ended up playing in that game, but this feels like that. This feels like a situation in which there is a big gray area. Jalen McCullough comes out of the dorm room the apartment, and he punches a guy. What was said, I don't know, but it just feels like that to me. Whereas if you would have asked me yesterday, Caleb, I would have said no way he's going to play. He's definitely suspended. I even heard one national podcaster host that's on Rick Neuheisel had said that he might be kicked completely off the team. So I don't think that's going to happen. We would have heard about that by now. Josh Heupel would have made a clean cut, but does Jalen McCullough play tomorrow? I don't know. Caleb, your thoughts? And if so, what kind of an impact can he have in a beleaguered secondary?
Yeah, I can't speculate at all whether or not he's going to play tomorrow. I can say that it's not so much the impact Jalen McCullough will have as much as it is the impact him not playing will have. Because, again, I think that I've said this all week, Tennessee secondary is below average, but there were some players that are mediocre at least. And I would put Jalen McCullough in the mediocre range, and you can do a lot worse than mediocre. And I mean, I think that I'm going to be honest up front with or without Jalen McCullough. I think the worst part about this game for Tennessee is that the matchup disadvantages where they could exploit an Alabama weakness is not really there. We keep talking about how Alabama doesn't have great receivers. Well, they got receivers that are good enough to torch this Tennessee secondary. And so I just think that with the availability of players issues, all the news reports based on what we've been seeing this week just seems to very much favor Alabama. Because you're right, McCullough, if he can play, that could offset that a little bit. But Tillman's probably not playing. Bryce Young probably is. And it sounds like Jalen Moody is going to be back for Alabama. And that's a huge deal. I mean, Will Anderson can line up on one side at that point. What's Tennessee going to do? They're not just going to have to worry about Will Anderson at that point if Jalen Moody can go.
True. And as you pointed out on offthehooksports.com, Will Anderson is not the only great player up front. Now, he may be a transcendent player, and I believe he is. I believe he's the best since Derek Thomas in terms of an edge rusher in the SEC. But if you look at what you wrote, 18 sacks as a whole, we're talking about Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell, former Vol, Henry To'o. I mean, they're really, really good. You mentioned Moody as well. So it's not just stopping Will Anderson. There's a lot more than that. And the challenging thing about Will Anderson is he is so darn fast that he can chase things from the backside. And he is so strong, which is what makes him a transcendental player, size speed ratio, is that you have trouble running at him. I mean, he is an incredibly disruptive force that might not have a single sack, but could affect the game greatly, Caleb.
Oh, I agree. I don't think this is a game where I think because of Will Anderson, I don't think this is a game where Tennessee football is going to be able to win by moving the ball. Quite honestly, I think that they're going to have to. This is all on. I'm going to put this out there. Alabama's just better, like across the board. And I think, and I think this hype behind Tennessee this week is a little bit overblown. And I got to say that I think their best chance is. Because Will Anderson's going to kill a few drives on his own, and they're not going to be able to run the ball well. I think they have to hope that they get about 4 big plays that go for touchdowns that Heupel just draws up geniusly through the week that Alabama doesn't see coming. And I think that's the only way they're going to score, honestly, is they're going to pull off a few big plays here and there that they just drew up and caught Alabama off guard on.
Well, see, I would disagree a little bit there. I don't think it's an off guard thing. I don't think Alabama's secondary is elite. I think they're always pretty good at the very least, but I don't think they're elite. And I actually like that matchup of Tennessee's receivers against the Alabama's defensive backs. I think they can make plays. I don't think it necessarily, Amanda, has to. I don't know your thoughts, but has to be anything special. They just, I think they're athletic enough. Even without Tillman, I can't believe I'm saying this, but even without Tillman, I think they're good enough in the passing game to make plays against Alabama.
I think they can make plays, but as we talked about before, you have to just keep people out of the red zone. That's the main issue, the main concern. And Alabama does that. Keep people out of the end zone, not the red zone. Sorry, NFL. There was no red zone hardly at all last night. But keep people out of the end zone. And the first 4 games, Alabama did not allow a passing touchdown at all. So the fact that people say, "Oh, these corners and this secondary is not that great," they actually are.
No. No. They're not elite. I don't know anybody that said they're not good, and I wouldn't call them great. But I don't think they're elite. I don't think they're what Nick Saban's had in the past, where you would say he's had secondaries that you would say are, despite what Tennessee has done offensively, you would say there's a good chance they'll shut down Tennessee's receivers. I don't think they're that type of group this year. I think Tennessee's receivers, in a rarity, even without Cedric Tillman, have an advantage over Alabama's defensive backs. Am I the only one in the trio that thinks that?
Oh, no, I agree with you on that, but let's talk about different gaps for a minute, because it's not like how great, or it's about the range. So I would say that, yes, Tennessee's receivers, I think, are likely to win the matchups with Alabama. And I think that's a good thing for Tennessee. But on the other side, and I think it's because Tennessee's receivers are great and Alabama's defensive backs are just good. But on the other side, I think Alabama's receivers are good and Tennessee's defensive backs are mediocre to potentially below average. So even though Alabama's receivers aren't as good as Tennessee's receivers, they're as likely to win the matchup. They actually could probably win the matchups in better fashion tomorrow, because Alabama's receivers are going up against a worse secondary than Tennessee's receivers are. And then on top of that, then it comes down to the pass rush. And Tennessee has a pretty good pass rush, don't get me wrong. It's not in the same stratosphere as Alabama's pass rush. It's not even close.
Again, I would say I believe it's a little closer than that. I'm not trying to say that Tennessee's talent is at Alabama's level. I don't think that, but I do think that Tennessee is a big defensive tackle away from having a really good front, whereas Alabama already has a really good front. To Amanda's point, Alabama is tops in pass defense in the SEC. You just kind of look back over who they played. You had Quinn Evers that got knocked out of the Texas game. You had Ewers, excuse me. You had last week Texas A&M struggled to throw the ball. Was that more Alabama, or is that more of those opponents? But they do have the top-rated pass defense in the league. So I'm not sliding anyone. And to be real clear, I still think this is an upset, just like Vegas does. And I think that Alabama as a whole has more talent. And if everything plays out and Bryce Young plays the entire game, and he's effective, he's 90% or better, I think you have to probably pick Alabama in this game. But it's not like it used to be. It's a heck of a lot closer, Amanda, in terms of what we have seen this season and what we have seen the growth of this program. And it's a heck of a lot closer than it ever has been. And it is the trend. It's an easy hot take, I would say, for national media after they watched Jalen Milroe last week to say, hey, I'm picking Tennessee. Tennessee's a better team. Well, no, top to bottom, 1-85, Amanda, they're not yet. I mean, they might get there if Nick Saban retires, if Josh Heupel continues to recruit, but they're not there yet. They're going to have to make plays and things are going to have to break their way for them to win this game. And it could happen, but I think that the easy hot take nationally has gone, like Caleb said, a little overboard.
Yeah, I think people are jumping on that train. I'm not saying they're not going to win. Obviously I don't ever say who I feel is going to win in any Alabama game because I'm never right. So it doesn't matter. 100% batting on, on wrong here.
Well, good gravy. You could be 90% just saying they'll win every time.
No, I'm talking about the spread. Okay. But anyway, anywho, continuing on.
Go into the season and take the straight up bet, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah, money line is different than the spread. But, talking about that, I think that everyone is jumping on this Tennessee bandwagon, which is a great feeling for Tennessee fans. I get it. You guys, Tennessee's good. And I get the fan base is really excited about it. But the media and everyone else jumping on this Tennessee, train, that is food for Nick Saban.
Oh,
That
see,
is Nick Saban.
I think that's all overdone.
I think it's not, because we've seen what Nick Saban does when they're fed that they're not that good.
Well, okay, so wouldn't they have bounced back and beat the ever living bleep out of A&M that beat them last year?
Not without Bryce Young, and that's
A revenge
not.
game? I mean,
It's not really a revenge game. I don't know who said that's a revenge game.
If you lose the year before, yeah, that's a revenge game. No question
So
about it.
is every year to Alabama playing Tennessee a revenge game for Tennessee?
No, because Alabama's been better. But Texas A&M
Okay.
slipped up and beat them last year. I mean, that's clearly a revenge game. The fact that Jalen Milroe and they had some other issues didn't play well, to me, was an eye-opener.
There's 4 turnovers in the game.
Yeah,
4 turnovers.
Caleb, to me,
3 by the same person.
Yeah, and that's a real eye-opener. That, to me, I mean, that's a game that you should be up for, that you should go out and destroy them. I mean, let's face it. Jalen Milroe could play as poorly as he did. And by the way, he was pretty efficient passing the ball when he wasn't turning the ball over. Okay, that's a big if. But that Alabama team should come out and destroy that A&M team, even the way Milroe played. And I think that Nick Saban likes to say that. I think he likes to talk about the rat poison and everything, but I don't think that has much of an effect. I think they're just better most weeks.
I think if you look statistically, it's different than what you would think it is.
Then what?
Then saying that Saban doesn't capitalize on that. Saban uses that to motivate his team. They get up after they're considered not that they're going to get blown out. Look at the SEC championship. Everyone said Georgia.
But when have they ever been said? When is the last time in 15 years we said that Alabama was going to get blown out?
SEC championship, Georgia last year.
Nobody.
Everyone. Yes, they did.
Was going to get blown out.
Yes, they did.
Caleb, help me here.
Okay, so here's what we're looking at this. We're looking at this backwards. It's not about Alabama's, like, they're not going to be Alabama doesn't win games because they're extra motivated. They weren't extra motivated last year against Georgia. What happens is they lose games a lot of times because they're not motivated. Now, what I will say is all the talk they don't take games seriously enough. And so I think we agree that they didn't take Texas A&M seriously. I never really buy the revenge game thing because Dave, here's one for you. History 2003. Remember when Miami lost to Virginia Tech and then Tennessee's going down to Miami and we hear all week, it's a revenge game for Miami. It's a revenge game. And then they turn the ball over 4 times and Kellen Winslow lets everybody know he's a soldier. And so
that was I think the best game that Philip Fulmer ever coached. That was the end around to Derek Tinsley on the goal line. That took an awful lot of good fortune because that Miami team was loaded.
All they had to do was let Miami implode because they knew how poorly coached Miami was. I think
revenge games are fan base things.
Yeah,
revenge games are fans. That's not the team.
Right, exactly. So what I'm saying is Alabama loses normally because they're overlooking an opponent or something like that, or they just are feeling themselves a little too much. I don't think they're going to be feeling themselves too much this week. I think, and the reason I think they know they're playing a top 10 team on the road. They know they struggled last week. And also I'm trying to remember, when has Alabama struggled 2 weeks in a row under Nick Saban against teams they're better than?
When have they struggled 2 weeks in a month, which they have? I mean, I think that this Alabama team is beatable, but again, this rat poison stuff is so. The point of the rat poison thing is that this Alabama team is much better than 99% of the people they play. Other than Georgia during this run, they are better, significantly better than the teams they played. So he's constantly bringing up the rat poison about how his team can get the big head, and that's smart by him. But this team didn't respond to a potential revenge game against A&M. This team didn't respond to the fact that they struggled to beat Texas. This team, to me, I look at it in a lot of ways. I look at Georgia and I say, Georgia thinks they can turn it on. There's something not clicking there. And I look at Alabama and I say, I don't know if they think they can turn it on or what, but they're not playing up to their potential. Plus, I don't think they're as overall talented as they've been in recent years.
I mean, I'll give you this. It could be the other way. It could be this Alabama team doesn't respond as well to pressure. Maybe Jalen Milroe himself, maybe Jalen Milroe just, opportunity to start, show himself last week. Yeah. And if that's the case, that does benefit Tennessee because pressure, I do believe, y'all are going to hate me, I do somewhat believe in the clutch gene and just being able to, and maintaining your focus when there's a lot of pressure surrounding you. And don't get me wrong, Tennessee has pressure this week too, because all the talk that's happening, if Tennessee goes out there and loses 45-0, that's a bad look for Tennessee, given all the hype they were getting this week. And so they have pressure too. I will say, I think Tennessee has proven themselves more to respond well under pressure this year than Alabama. Bryce Young himself responds well to pressure. Bryce Young is the most clutch quarterback in college football. But I don't know how the rest of the team responds well to pressure. And
I will say this. Let me get both of y'all's take on this really quickly. When the season started, I thought that Alabama had a 9.5 on a scale of 1 to 10 talented roster. Okay. I thought the receivers were okay. I'm not going to nitpick every position, but I thought they had a 9.5. I thought Tennessee had about a 6.5 on the scale of 1 to 10 as far as talent in the nation. I'm more along the lines of I think Tennessee has a 7.5 and Alabama has about an 8.5 in terms of talent. I think they are both closer in my mind in talent than they were at the beginning of the year. Do you guys disagree with that?
I think Tennessee has a better talent than what you thought at the beginning of the season, which I said that they did. I think Alabama's problem is not really the talent that they have. It's the offensive coordinator. That's Bill O'Brien is terrible. And that is the problem for Alabama. Yes, he is.
Well,
yes, he is.
I agree with that, but there aren't great receivers out there running around. I mean, they're a little bit closer.
I don't think they're great receivers, but if you're looking at position-wise at Alabama, where that's the weakest part of Alabama's team is receivers, and they're still good. They're still decent receivers. They're not great by any stretch of the imagination. Tennessee has great ones, great receivers. You have Brew McCoy, you have Cedric Tillman, you have Jalen Hyatt. Like I would trade those gladly if I were Alabama. I would trade my receivers for those receivers. But honestly, you're not depleted anywhere at Alabama. Your play calling and your offensive coordinator is crap. And I'm sorry, he's just crap. Caleb agrees with me.
It's funny enough. I do want to throw it in there that I will say Tennessee has a massive schematic advantage this weekend. I think Tennessee actually has better coordinators on both sides. I think Tim Banks is better than Pete Golding too. I think he's just coaching with less. And Alex Gold and Josh Heupel are leaps and bounds better than Bill O'Brien. I will say that.
Caleb, we got to get to Jonathan Crompton. Give us a quick pick before we get to Jonathan.
Sorry, I just don't think Tennessee is good enough. I got Alabama 35-21.
Okay. I don't know why you're sorry. That's just a pick. All right. I appreciate it, Caleb. The Mattress Place is the place to go. That is over 225 5-star reviews on Google. Marine Corps veteran owned, A+ accredited member, Better Business Bureau. Huge selection of mattresses. And tell them Off the Hook Sports sent you. No gimmicks. It's 30 to 70% off each and every day. We appreciate Caleb Calhoun. Check him out on Off the Hook Sports. Hang with me back in 2 minutes. Jonathan Crompton will help us break down the game Tennessee, Alabama. More after this.
Gary Viles here. I want to personally invite you to North Knoxville's newest sports bar and restaurant. It's Big Orange Phillies, located in Black Oak Center. And yes, folks, it's happening in Halls. Big Orange Phillies offers family-friendly environment with homemade meals and the best deli South subs around. Billiards, darts, jukebox, shuffleboard, and cornhole, and a full bar. We also offer valet parking on weekends and during special events. We even have a covered back patio. It's happening at Big Orange Phillies. We want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
There's your bear.
This is Al's Nest Barbecue Supply, so come on in and see all the different rubs and sauces we have, plus the complete line of Green Mountain grills. Don't be overwhelmed. We have plenty of help so you can produce the best barbecue and amaze your family and friends. Barbecue is America's food. We'll do what we can to bring you all the best products. We're Al's Nest Barbecue, where Chattanooga goes to grill.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
We do our research. Have you done your research?
We're working like heck.
Today's tough question. What's the real debate?
You sipping my Soupe Guadalupe?
Exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker and Amanda LaFrada.
You drinking my sake, Kimosabi?
Oh my God.
I'm going to go ahead and bring Jonathan Crompton in here because I want him to take part in today's tough question. Brought to you today by our friends at crafttreats.com. You got a pet, Jonathan?
I don't think one is the word.
Oh, that's right. Your wife has a multitude. You have like a Noah's Ark of pets.
Yeah, we got 5 dogs and 3 cats.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna hook you up. How about this? I'm gonna hook you up with some chill pills. If any of your pets have any sort of anxiety, which they all do from time to time, digestive issues, or arthritis, chill pill is the way to go. Available at crafttreats.com. And don't forget, you save 20% at checkout with the exclusive code Off the Hook. That's crafttreats.com. 20% off with Off the Hook. Jonathan, I will send you a supply with your shirt, which is going out today. And get your parents' sizes for me so that I can get I love your parents. I got to get them some. Get your sister's size too. So send that to me. I want to take care of them. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So today's tough question is, I'm going to mold this on the fly. So we were just discussing if Alabama is as talented as we thought before the season started. So I said that I had Alabama as far as a talent scale, 10 being the most talented team you could possibly be, as beginning the season a 9, 9.5. I'll probably have them an 8, 8.5 now. Do you agree or disagree with that?
With which one? The 9 or 9.5 or the 8 and 8.5?
Well, I started personally about 9, 9.5, and I've dropped it a little bit. I don't think they're quite as talented as I thought. They're still very, very good. Don't get me wrong.
Well, one, I don't think any team in America would argue with an 8 out of 10 on the talent scale. Right?
Right.
If their fan base is arguing for an 8 out of 10, then they need a reality check for any teams. But I would definitely agree. I would say probably around, I'd go probably 8.5, closer, leaning to 8.75, closer to 9. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On that, it's tipping back to 9 is what I'm getting at. And the only reason why is because of Gibbs, their tailback. When you're at a place like Alabama or old Southern Cal or our generation Miami, right? When you just reload every year and you lose guys to the draft every year, you don't really know what you're getting until about week 3 or 4, right? Because most of the guys have played mop-up duty in the previous years, have had significant playing time. So the first couple of games are always tune-up games, typically, right? You know, and we had a couple of those this year. So until around this time of year, you don't really know what you're getting with those types of teams. Hence what Georgia's kind of going through. They're still trying to figure out who they are because they lost so many guys in the draft. So I would still say talent scale, I would lean them closer to a 9, but I'm not going to say they're playing as a 9, though.
Fair. Okay, so I know Amanda wants to jump in here. And Amanda, if you want to mold out today's tough question, maybe it's something along the lines, too, of what advantage does Tennessee have in this game? Is it schematics, as Amanda alluded to? Is it Tennessee has a better offensive approach than Alabama? That could be something. But you mentioned Gibbs, and I think he is the player that doesn't get talked about enough in this game. Reminds me of Alvin Kamara. But particularly the thing that I found surprising is that Jalen Milroe wasn't ready against A&M, had the fumbles. That really surprised me. That didn't seem like a Nick Saban team.
I was actually surprised watching. It's not just him, but even King at Texas A&M. I'm sitting there going, and I know I'm very harshly critical of the quarterback position. I always have been, and I always will be. I can't help it. When you watch King at Texas A&M, you go, dude, I'm not being rude. There's no way in hell you're an SEC quarterback. Again, I'm not being rude. There's nothing wrong with that. You play college football at any level, that's an accomplishment. I don't care what anybody says, or any sport, really. But you're watching and go, your throwing motion is way, way too elongated, way too choppy. And then I look at Milroe and I go, you're a damn good athlete. Like you're that guy. But I don't think you'll ever beat me throwing the ball. Right? And because people are like, oh, well, he's like Jalen Hurts 2.0. I'm like, he's not even close. Jalen Hurts can beat you throwing the ball. Dude, he was 26-2 as a starter. He proved he could beat you throwing the football. Now, people try to be very critical of him in college just because that's what everybody likes to do. I just don't see him being the typical Alabama number 2 or potential number 1 quarterback in the next couple of years. Jalen Hurts, hey, dude can throw the piss out of the ball. You can't compare him to Jalen Hurts when I'm not. Nobody's afraid of the pass. You're always going to get your yards, those cheap yards off screens and bubbles, and maybe a guy makes a freak play down the field on a 50-50 ball. But play in and play out, you're not – Jalen Hurts, you still had to defend the pass. You had to defend the play action, deep crosses. I'm going to sit in the house and say you're going to beat me running the ball. You're going to have to beat me throwing it because you're not going to beat me running it if he plays. That's exactly what I would do for any team playing him until he fixes some kinks and learns to actually throw a football with accuracy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that he is not accurate, and maybe not accurate is the wrong term. He just doesn't know when to get rid of the ball unless he's putting it on the ground, if we're being honest. Unless he's fumbling it, he has no idea. He holds on to it way too long, tries to scramble. It looks like chaos back there. I mean, it really does.
Natural. It doesn't feel like he. No. Let me come back. It doesn't feel like he feels comfortable in the pocket. And hey, man, the game's changed. You don't have to be a pocket passer to win games in today's world. I get it, but you still got to be able to throw the football, right? You still got to be able to effectively run your offense, and because it's not like you're running Air Force, Army, Navy like the academies. You're not running triple option. You're running a spread offense. Let's air it out, run the ball when we need to, zone read, blah, blah, blah. But when he's in, it's more we're going to zone read, throw, rather than when Bryce Young's in, it's, hey, you got to defend the pass a lot because he's going to throw for 450 on you. And it's not going to be the cheap 450s. It's going to be the deep double moves, right? Come back and go, deep dig and go. And it's a totally different offense. And like O'Brien said last year, for all three of his top 3 quarterbacks, he had a different game plan for all 3 of them because all 3 were different. So he had to game plan 3 times in case somebody got hurt. And it definitely looks now like it's very strategically different if Young's not playing.
Yeah. On that note about Young, I know that obviously you played quarterback college, and a lot of us are just analyzing these things. We haven't dealt with injuries. We don't know what that feels like. We don't know what it feels like to be, college quarterbacks. His injury with
I'm almost 50. I know what injuries feel like. The dad playing hurt.
not for college. You're not a college quarterback, though.
No, I'm not. But they hurt like heck. No, sorry.
Well, I'm sure. But when it comes to being in this position and the leader of your team like Bryce Young is, and the fact that they know that they have to pretty much, Alabama has to have Bryce Young, I think, to win this game. His injury, it's a sprained shoulder. People say, you have different opinions out there. Can you just give me some insight on what that's like being in that position?
Not fun. And I say it like I'm being serious. Like I've had 3 arm surgeries. When you're dealing with anything in your throwing shoulder, kicker when his kicking leg, right? Or probably even more so his plant leg. Things like that. If you're a right tackle and it is your left leg and you're pushing off of that left leg when you're trying to get to a speed rush, anything that takes a lot of like just really brutal force.
Torque.
Yeah, you don't realize how much you use the little parts of your body until you injure said part of your body. It makes sleeping painful. Okay. And I'm saying all this because it'll add up. When you don't realize how much you naturally just do that when you sleep, and then that shoots all the way down past your shoulder, right? You don't realize that when you're not injured. So what I'm getting at is all of it adds up, especially in your throwing shoulder, that when you get a lack of sleep, right? You're not comfortable all the time. You start overcompensating for other parts of your body so your shoulder doesn't hurt. It's a trickle effect. So the negative, and I hope they do, and I've been very vocal about this stuff, not just like in Tennessee, but everywhere. You're a young man, keyword young. I hope to God they did not shoot him up and say, screw it, you're going to play no matter what, because I know I've still got 3 ankle bones in 1 ankle from doing that crap in college, where I've been dealing with a shattered ankle for 14 years now. It ain't fun, right? I hope to God they have not done this to this kid for the long-term effects of what it'll do, because you don't feel it. It's the whole point of it.
Are you talking about Bryce?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I hope they haven't for him, truly, because then he's not going to feel it. He's just going to keep re-injuring it and tweaking it and not know it.
Agreed. I agree with all that. But also, if you were to do the Toradol thing,
no, it's way more than Toradol. Trust me.
Yeah. Well, if you were to do any sort of pain masking agent, it seems like you could do that with a lot of players on a lot of different body parts, but it seems like it would affect your throwing if you had any sort of numbness in your shoulder too.
So yes, it quote unquote numbs it. It feels normal is what I'm getting at. You just don't feel the pain. So you still feel like your body part, you don't feel the pain. So if it gets hit or it gets injured in some way, you don't really necessarily feel that. You don't feel it as much. It masks the pain very well, right? I mean, for any part of the body. Like I said, I hope they haven't done this to him, because it's not fair for his long-term effects of life. Not just for this weekend, man. The one game does not define your life, and like I said, I hope they haven't done that. But back to the injury part, it takes a toll. You will see a lot if he's playing and he's feeling it at all. You won't see as many deep balls, right? It won't be the double moves down the field. It'll be a lot of 10-yard and under throws, because that's as far as your arm will let you do it, depending on the severity of his injury. Like without actually having to overexert to where you can re-injure.
Interesting. Amanda, jump in here and let's go ahead and mold together today's tough question. We like to do this on the fly, Jonathan, and I think I want to go in the direction of what is Tennessee's best advantage against Alabama, because there are a couple of advantages, but overall, I think Alabama's a better team. We'd all agree on that. But a couple that Amanda brought up, one scheme. She said Bill O'Brien's not very good schematically, and we all know that Josh Heupel is. And what about Tennessee's wide receivers? And then we could add the Alabama quarterback situation. Who has a fourth as far as Tennessee's best advantage in a potential win? Get a fourth
Kicker.
kicker. Chase McGrath.
I mean,
Well, Alabama's kicker missed like two, three
What do
footballs.
you know, it's kind of funny to be as good as they have been over the long haul. They've only had like one, and I can't remember the kid's name, but he's really tall and lanky. One consistent kicker that you're like, this dude's going to beat you. Over the time, you're like, that's all you got, you know. And it's been like an open struggle over the years.
It's wild because they come out number one. They come out number one kickers in high school. Go to Alabama, and I don't know if it's the atmosphere. I don't know if it's the humidity. I don't know what it is, but they just fall flat on their faces. I don't understand it. It's crazy.
I'm glad. I'm just
kidding.
I'm going with speed, and not like player speed. The speed that we play, all you got to do in a game like this, you got to be around late in the fourth. If you wear them down with your tempo, I guess I should have said tempo instead of speed. The whole game, go. Try to stay from 3 now. Get 5, 6, 7, 8 play drives. End with field goals. Don't win these games, but you've got to end every drive with a kick, so you don't turn the ball over. But that tempo late in the fourth can wear them out because no team that we play is going to play a team that goes as fast as us all year. That's our advantage with our offense, right? So I'm looking for Alabama to play ball control and us to say, screw it, we're going as fast as we can go, and if not even quicker than we normally go, to wear you down late in the fourth. Because if we have them close late in the fourth, we're going to win. And they know that. Their thing is we can't be close late in the fourth.
Interesting. Okay, so let's go to Tennessee's best chance to beat Alabama is how about up-tempo scheme, Tennessee's wide receivers, Alabama's quarterback situation, and see if anybody votes kicker. How about that? Does everybody like that one?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that plays a big deal in it. Like you saw.
I do think I have the answer to that question. I think that they're not put in high pressure situations very often. And it's one thing to go out there and practice and kick 5 50-yarders and say, whoa, look at me. It's another thing for the game to be on the line. And you've never been in that situation before in college. You're like, holy Hannah, this is difficult.
There's a lot of times.
Kicking is different. Like you're by yourself at practice a lot.
Yeah.
Right. I remember in practice, they would go out early and then practice is over, all that stuff. They're inside playing wiffle ball. Right. Which is because specialists, man, they're different in that sense. Like you can only kick so many balls a day, right? And you only snap so many balls. But the thing is, you better not mess up those laces when it snapped and they pin that hole. They better be 12 o'clock, right? I better be pointing at the uprights. When they catch it, they should not have to spin it. So that's the thing is like, as a specialist coach, you make sure they're prepared, and then you kind of back off from them, right? And say, we don't want to put too much in your head. Your head cases to begin with. You might get one opportunity a game. You cannot mimic that in practice. That's the hard part, like you're saying, Dave. Like it's kicking. It's a whole different ballgame. You got to there are head cases on the field only because you're going to get one opportunity to win it or lose it. Look at the Cardinals last week in the NFL. Their lineman had to come save him in the media because they were ragging him because of one kick because he gets one opportunity and it didn't go in. Like it is arguably one of the toughest jobs. So you have to be a special individual to be able to do it. And they haven't, it's slightly humorous now, that as good as they've been over the years, they've not had a tremendous kicker ever.
I've been around players that had bad games and it maybe cost them the game. I will tell you the most uncomfortable player that I've ever been around was at a Titans playoff game where Al Del Greco missed a field goal late against the Ravens. And that was the longest elevator ride. I felt so bad for him. I mean, John, there's something about missing that kick. Everybody thinks a 54-yarder should be automatic. It's not.
No. It ain't easy. That's the thing. It's like it's arguably one of the hardest things to do because you're doing it with your foot. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, think about it. You're having your lower extremities leg swing to kick a ball and have to draw it or fade it in golf terms, depending on the wind, have to kick it, get it low to elevate up because you might be at a certain distance, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's nuts. But they got to do it at perfection. That's their job.
We had somebody post, Brittany said kicking in the NFL has been atrocious. I have a theory on that. So they don't kick the chip shot extra point, and I think that they use that like a golf swing to kind of refine their game. And I think now that it's actually a decent size kick since they moved it back, I don't think they're able to do that. That's my theory.
Yeah, I mean,
didn't they move the goalposts in too? Like a few years ago?
That I don't know. Well, after high school, they get moved in.
Yeah.
I thought
They go from 24 to 18 or something like that after high school or something like that. But 32 yards, I mean, once again, it's not necessarily the easiest. But in your mind, as soon as you score a touchdown, you're like, all right, that's 7. Well, it's not a guaranteed 7 anymore.
No.
Right? And that's so I can understand that.
Jonathan's appearance brought to you in part by Zool Beer Company, the official craft beer of Off the Hook Sports. Go to Zool Beer Company, xulbeer.com. Worldwide award-winning craft beer and a great place to hang out and watch the game downtown with parking. It is simply awesome. So just your thoughts now that we've had some time to mull over it. And Hendon Hooker, according to one odds maker out there, is the second most likely player behind CJ Stroud to win the Heisman Trophy. Barring an injury, he's going to be at that presentation. I'm actually booking my flight today, which I hope I don't jinx him, John. But just his progression and the calm also that he brings to this team that we've seen as him being the starter from day one. I can't say enough about that young man.
Oh, exactly. I saw a TikTok last week, being funny about Virginia Tech fans watching Tennessee football this year. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on, right? And I laughed and I go, you know what a lot of people don't understand from behind the closed doors is good coaching will do that. Good coaching will put you back into that state of mind of calmness, of this is who I am as a player. And you can tell with Hendon, he's at that level, right? He understands, he's prepared for the game. Like physically and mentally, he is prepared for 99.9% of situations, right? There's always that weird thing that's going to happen during the game that something happens, right? But he's prepared as much as you can be prepared, not just from himself, but from the coaches. And they had that confidence in him to put him in certain situations that not a lot of teams are putting their quarterbacks in. Yes, I understand that his age, he's older and all this stuff, but that has nothing to do with it when it comes to being, once you step on the field, your age don't matter. And that's to me, it's fun to watch because you go, he's in his element. He's playing loose and free, but within himself, within the game. And to me, that starts with coaching. They put him in the right situations because they trust him. They instill that confidence from them to him. It's fun to watch. I'm really excited about this staff moving forward, not just this year, but for the years going. As long as Heupel's there, because you can tell that's kind of his mentality. Not a lot bothers him during the game, outside of a referee, because that's every coach. And that's I think that's one of our big advantages, not just this week, but just moving forward. We're not going to get flustered. We're just going to roll with it, take the punches as they go, and then we're going to give you more punches than you can give us. And that's that mentality. Like I said, that starts with the coaches, and that we haven't had that in a long time.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's very true. So there's been a lot of talk about Alabama's secondary compared to Tennessee's wide receivers. Now, apparently, like everyone says Alabama's secondary is trash. We've heard that throughout.
Nobody has said that.
Yes, they have.
Nobody has said that.
Nobody's talking about you. We had somebody on the message board say that they were trash. Don't play like 2 days ago.
I wouldn't worry about your message boards other than bingo.
I'm just saying people think trash. I mean, that it's out there. I'm just saying. And 2015 Pro Bowl is when they moved the goalpost from 18 inches to 14, but they only did it in that one game, 14 inches as far as I can find. Yeah, not 14 inches. God, that would be terrible. 14 feet. Yeah, that would be real difficult. 14 feet. Continuing on. What do you see out of this Alabama secondary, and is there a possibility that they could make big plays, or do you think Hendon Hooker is just too much for them?
I will never say a player is too much for any team. And that goes same thing for Alabama to us, right? Because you still got to play the game, right? But I will say that they've got their hands full because I'm sitting here. I just want to make sure I've got the measurables right. We 6'3", 215. What? 6 foot 185. 6'3", 220. Right, and those aren't tight ends; those are receivers, right? And so they've got their hands full, regardless of how good they are. We outsize them, and if you look at our offense, we do a really good job of saying you got to win the one-on-one matchup. So if you go to practice, one-on-one drill literally means one receiver, one DB. You're running the route, you covering him man-to-man. That is an offensive drill. It is set up for the offense to win because it is one-on-one. Coaches will sit there and go mano-a-mano, right? You got to win that matchup. We do a really good job of winning the one-on-one matchups. Heupel does a tremendous job of getting them in one-on-one matchups in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are a 6'1+ 210-pound plus receiver going against the normal DBs that are going to weigh 175 to 185 at like 5'9", 5'10", that's automatically an advantage. Plus, you're going to one-on-one matchup. You should win that 75% of the time. If you win that 75% of the time tomorrow, you win the ballgame. And that's so they can be in the right spots, and Saban will make sure that they're in the right spots. But we just got to win the one-on-one matchups, and we put ourselves in those matchups a lot. And I think that's going to be Alabama's biggest hurdle to bear is the size that they're going to be giving up right off the bat.
Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, share as well. We want to be a part of your Tennessee coverage. We greatly appreciate that. The feedback has been tremendous. We appreciate you. So hit that like and subscribe and share button. We looked at it. It's still 80% of our viewers have not subscribed yet. So do that because we'll have people like and we'll have Cooper Mays, Jacob Warren, current Tennessee players on Sunday. Jonathan Crompton join us, former Tennessee quarterback. John, who was the best defensive front player that you ever went against?
Ooh, there's a few of them. I don't know if I would be able to pinpoint one player.
Okay.
But as far as collectively, the front four would be 06 LSU.
Okay. Yeah, they were pretty good.
They were dirty, just like, and I don't mean like playing dirty, but like they were just, it was, well, the whole defense, but the front four was just, Arkansas, surprisingly enough, Arkansas had a really good D-line back then. But I would say that was probably just pure size alone. You know what I mean? They were 290 plus and could freaking run. Like it wasn't like a typical 290-pound man that couldn't move. These dudes could run and stay with you. So I would have to say the front four, definitely LSU back then.
Okay, well, let me ask you, let me get towards this direction. When you have like a Will Anderson and you have to account for one guy on every single play, how much is that a part of your thought process to the point of it seems like it would just be annoying?
You think of it in practice and stuff. Okay, where's he at here? Said player on scout team's wearing his number all week. You kind of sometimes will put him in a different color jersey where it stands out. You know where he's at. As soon as the game happens, you don't care. And I was the mentality. Ryan Fitzpatrick. I saw a thing with another day, and I was like, you know what? I was that guy too. I like it. Where coaches are like, especially the DB standpoint, they're like, hey, this dude is clearly their number one, blah, blah, blah. Stay away from him. Screw that. I'm going to attack him early, and I'm going to see what he can do. Let him know we're not afraid of you. We don't care who you are. We're going to go at you. I think now in the run game with Will Anderson, I think we do try to run away from him, right? Because it's smarter. But sometimes you got to go at him to let him know that he's not going to be unblocked, essentially having to go horizontal. So I think in practice, you definitely go with it a lot. As soon as the game happens, man, you're just going with your stuff. We go so fast, sometimes you don't even know where they're going to be lined up. For as quick as we go under hyper, you're just going because sometimes our receivers, if you notice, our guys line up in a stack sometimes out wide, sometimes they're in a normal 2x2 set, blah, blah, blah. It is get to your closest alignment and line up. So it's not necessarily the same play out of the same formation every time. So they may not be lined up correctly either because of us. So during the game, you're just rolling with it.
Interesting.
A lot of people talk about refs, and I'm taking this from you. Obviously, you're a Tennessee QB, so I know you lean one side. Like it's obvious. But a lot of people talk about refs being a difference maker in this game. And right now, I believe Alabama is the most penalized team in college football. I'm fairly certain. I'm not completely certain.
If they aren't, they should be by double, but that's another story.
Okay. Do you think that
there is no question that Alabama gets calls, but I would say the same thing as Jordan. They should get calls. Michael Jordan. I mean, proven it. But anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Well, go ahead, Amanda. I'll say something after.
Do you think that's something that will actually play a part in this game? Because a lot of people are going to say it's refs that are giving Alabama the game, but I don't see refs giving Alabama the game.
I'm not going to say giving the game, but I'm going to say that if you go back, so national media, not SEC media, national media, when Alabama plays a big-time non-conference game, aka Texas this year, go back and look at how scrutinized the refs were by national media. Oh, well, Alabama gets this, blah, blah, blah. And then everybody in the SEC is going, welcome to our life every week, right? Welcome to what we deal with on a weekly basis in that sense. They do not – is it good for college football for Alabama to lose? No. Right? It's not good for the SEC because you want the SEC biased power, right? So when Alabama should have lost to Texas, should have, then you go back and you start watching this film and you go, the hell did they call there? Why? Why was this thrown? It kept Alabama's offense on the field. Why was that thrown? Oh, well, why did even though it was at Texas, how'd the clock stop so quick? Because that doesn't happen on the road, right? So you start looking into this stuff, and the national media brings that up when they play a non-SEC powerhouse. When they're playing SEC opponents, then the national media goes, oh, well, you're just crying because it's Alabama. No, it's the same thing. Week in, week out. But then, like you said, Dave, the hard part is they're the powerhouse, so they technically should get some calls, right? But not as many as they do get. We'll just say that. It always seems like there's that late random flag that everybody goes, it's non-reviewable, and you go, what the hell was that? How NFL? How was that rough in the passer on a sack on Tom Brady? That's the Tom Brady effect.
That was Quinn Ewers in the Texas game.
It's non-reviewable. It's the Alabama effect. You see what I'm getting at? So the reality is this week, I know I said we got to be close in the fourth, but we got to be close playing clean, crisp football because they will get a call. They will get a call late to keep this game in Alabama's favor for national college football playoff reasons.
It's funny. Amanda brought that up, so I went ahead and looked it up. Alabama ranks 118th in penalty yardage, 71.5 yards per game, which is a lot when you think about a Nick Saban team, which I go back to. I think this team is incredibly undisciplined for a Nick Saban team.
For Saban, yes.
Yeah, for Saban. And that comes with the backup quarterback not being ready. But Tennessee is 125th, which I wouldn't have thought just watching them. But they have allowed or committed 78 yards worth of penalties per game. So both of these teams get a lot of penalties. So
the reason I would be curious if we could break that down. Obviously not right now. I would like a statistician to break that down for me if possible, in the sense of of our penalty yards, how many are false starts? I would be interested because we're going to have a lot of false starts per game because of how fast we go. I'm not saying I like penalties, but for what we do offensively, a 5-yard false start is okay, but the 15-yard, personal foul or the 10-yard holding, those things are unacceptable with how we play. Like I said, I would be curious on the percentage of our penalties as false starts. Last year, I would say there was a lot. This year, watching, I don't think there is many. I think it's the random holding call at the wrong time or the dumb, late hit out of bounds. And you can't have those, especially against an Alabama. But as I say that, watch closely because I'm going to be curious. As I'm saying that, there's highlights on the TV of us. I'm curious. As an offensive lineman, you can ask any O-line to ever play. You can call holding on every play. You could.
Yep.
Because as an O-line coach, you teach. Stay within the shoulder pads and you can hold them. You can go here. Well, that's a holding call, right? Once late in the game, if there's not a random disastrous holding call on our O-line on a big crucial drive. Happens every week when Alabama plays. It does. And that's just the harsh reality.
Well, Texas, Alabama got penalized for roughing the passer when they just made a tackle on Quinn Ewers. Because of what happened, because Quinn Ewers went out with the shoulder injury. So I know that I don't think Alabama gets all of the calls.
That's just insane.
And here's the thing, Dave, you know me well enough. If this was the same way with Tennessee, I would say it the same way. Like when it comes to stuff like this in the game of football, I'm completely unbiased. Like obviously I want us to win, but when it comes to the brutal reality of favoritism when it comes to referees, I am unbiased and I can't stand it because I don't like that a game where these kids put so much into it and these coaches put so much into it come down to a guy that literally could be biased and nobody know it. Like I saw a clip of a high school game in Texas, right? And it was a guy filming legit right behind the ref, kind of held up behind the line. He literally pulls his flag out, sees the guy break it, stuffs it right back in his back pocket. Well, that's biased. You can't do that. You pulled the flag out when they're ready to throw it, see the guy break it for a touchdown, you put it back up. You can't do that. That's the stuff I don't like about referees is you can't tell me that there's Arizona State in basketball. What years was it, Dave, when they were betting on games?
Oh,
was
God.
it the 80s?
Yeah, that was it was even before my time.
You know what I'm saying?
How old do you think I am?
Well, no, because I know like just some random sports facts.
Yeah, it was 84 actually.
So what I'm getting at is you can, and I'm not saying that they are. That's not what I'm getting at. But people have incentives to make certain teams win, and I do not like that.
I will say this, John, and then we'll get your pick. I umpired my way through high school and part of college to pay for going out and to McDonald's and stuff like that. So I will say this: when you can see that one team is clearly better, subconsciously, you will make a close call in that team's favor, and you have no favorite in it. It's just subconsciously your mind thinks, well, that team probably did it. So whether it's Alabama or Michael Jordan or whoever it is, you naturally think Kentucky basketball is the worst. But you naturally think, oh, well, they probably did the right thing or that they didn't do the wrong thing. It's just,
but that's the thing is, as a referee in games like this, at this level,
yes,
you don't have, I hate to say it this way, you don't have the right to think that way.
I agree.
It was because of how much is on the line for what these kids and coaches would do. I'm not saying you should do it anywhere, but you're right though, that happens. But at this level, you don't have the chance to think that way, but they do, and that's all I'm getting at is like Alabama is always going to get calls. Georgia right now is always going to get calls because it's the brutal honesty is with the SEC, and we all know is the best conference, but if Alabama and Georgia lose, the national media over the last 10 to 12 years doesn't want that. They don't want Alabama. They don't want Ohio State not being in the college football playoff. See what I'm saying? Ohio State is going to get calls no matter what. And that's just the reality is you need, because does anybody want to watch? Now I do, but does anybody want to watch like last year with Wake Forest? Anybody want to watch Wake Forest in the college football playoff?
I do not.
I mean, I do because I want to change.
I know.
I want to change. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
you can legit go into every year right now and go, all right, so 3 out of the 4 is going to be Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Alabama or Georgia, and Clemson. Every year, that's what people are going with. And then they go, oh, well, so your battle for number 4, let some BS, right? So what does now, as a referee who is a human being, what do they instantly think? Alabama or Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson. Clemson's going to get every call in the ACC because otherwise the ACC sucks. No other way of saying that.
Yeah.
ACC, their only hope to stay around is Clemson at this moment. So do you think Clemson's not going to get calls tonight against Florida or tomorrow night against Florida State? 100% they are.
Yep. I agree.
Because if they lose, the ACC's done.
I do believe it's subconscious. I don't believe they go into it saying that officials want one team to win. But nevertheless, John, I do believe there's a subconscious thing that goes on there. And but John, give us a pick for the game. What's your score? How do you see it playing out before we let you roll? We've kept you a long time. I appreciate it, buddy.
45-42 us.
Nice. All right. We'll see. That'd be an exciting game. I appreciate it, buddy. Have a fantastic weekend.
All right. Appreciate it.
See you, buddy. More after this. He's Jonathan Crompton. I'm Dave Hooker. 2 minutes. Then Coach Lance.
Folks, Gary Viles here, Viles Automotive on Calhoun Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Viles Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
This is Steve Rain. I own the Midnight Oil and Michelin Tire Direct service station here in Ottawa. It's not a fancy place, never has been, but it's a clean place with clean restrooms and good folks who work here. We sell gas and fix cars, nothing glamorous, but we love what we do and we're going to keep doing it for a long time to come. There's not many real service stations left, and that's a shame. We're the guys just like the guys back in your hometown. We'll fix your tire, change your oil, and put a new set of Michelins on your car. If you want a Twinkie, you'll just have to keep on going. Thanks for the business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare. Things in perspective, exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
You're so old. When you were a kid, rainbows were black and white.
And Amanda LaFrada.
New kids on the block just called. They wanted you as a backup dancer.
During the break, I'm sending a message to Coach Lance. Amanda got a little riled up about officials. And
get riled up about officials. I'm just saying
the fact that they obviously lean towards Alabama in close calls.
You are absolutely insane if you think
is that. True. It is undoubtedly true, and it's brought to you by Pedigo.
You are nuts.
Pedigo, a Chattanooga locally owned store where you'll be treated like family. The region's foremost electric bike experts. They put their hearts into helping you find the perfect bike. Don't buy one on e-commerce. Buy one at Pedigo Chattanooga, and you'll know you'll get service there, and you know you'll get a quality product. All right, so this day in sports history, it is October the 14th. Number 6, Tennessee defeated number 12, Alabama, 41-14 in Birmingham in 1995. Broke a 9-year losing streak to Alabama. If you look it up on the records, there was one win that was vacated. I'm glad we don't do that anymore because that kind of threw me for a loop. Peyton Manning was 20 of 29. Who can forget the slant, the little dig route to Joey Kent, 301 yards. Peyton Manning threw for that day. Joey Kent, 5 catches for 117 yards. Marcus Nash, 6 catches for 100 yards. And Coach Lance joins us now. Coach Lance, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Dave. How are you? Hi, Amanda LaFrada.
Hi, Coach Lance.
Is it or is it not true that Alabama gets a ton of calls in their favor from the officials? Coach Lance.
It's true. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, how do you even say that when they get called on roughing the passer?
You cannot.
I can pull multiple plays. Multiple plays.
It's just a fact. Anything?
Okay, I'm going to write something, and I'm going to show you that it's not factual. You're insane.
We want facts, Amanda. We want hard.
That's fine. I will show you hard facts. I'll show you pictures of times where, like, Texas A&M had Will Anderson like this around the throat. No call. No call. You can see it. I can show it to you.
Well, he's really good, so you got to do something.
Well, that's true. That is true.
I mean, again, I think it's a compliment that you get calls.
I don't.
If I say Michael Jordan, every time he drove to the lane, Coach Lance was an and one. Every single time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You can even talk about his last game against the Utah Jazz there when he pushed off the defender to take the shot. I mean, they would have called that push off on probably anybody else, but not on Mike. So
thank you. And I don't have a problem with that because he established himself.
Yeah, he's Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and they're Alabama under Nick Saban, so the officials are in their back pocket. Andy Mason is the realtor you should call. Andy Mason is all about treating you right, unlike the way officials treat opposing teams that play Alabama. And the Andy Mason Group, a team of passionate, knowledgeable real estate agents with elite realty over 38 years combined experience. We're talking about 4 decades there. Don't make the mistake of going with another realtor. You need to go with Andy Mason. No question about it. Go to andymasonrealestate.com. It is phenomenal. I've made the mistake of going with another realtor because I didn't know that Andy was a realtor at the time, and it cost me thousands of dollars. So don't make that mistake if you're in Knoxville. You need to absolutely go andymasonrealestate.com. So, but nobody's worse, Coach Lance, than Kentucky basketball. Even Kentucky basketball gets more calls than Duke. I think in the ACC, there's a sense. Oh, it's true. There's a sense that in the ACC, you have respect for Duke, North Carolina, and a lot of other teams. But when it comes to SEC play, Kentucky gets a ridiculous amount of calls.
Yeah, I think there's this automatic bias in that referees may not even acknowledge or hardly even know it's there. That because of the team, they just feel like they're going to lean that way automatically, no matter what, even if they don't mean to. I think that's absolutely true at Duke and Kentucky, and Tom Brady was the best example, and Alabama, but mainly Alabama.
Agree, mostly Alabama. I'd say 99.9.
15 penalties.
Yeah,
15 penalties against Texas.
By the way, everybody get excited. The innocent culprit,
25.
Apparently, it's leaked.
I just made that number up. What?
The innocent culprit has leaked it. You probably didn't know about this, but Amanda has a book coming out. It's going to be huge in Tuscaloosa. It's called Alabama Football. We're not crooks, really.
I want to read it.
By the way, you got to love Alabama and Nick Saban saying, hey, here's what we're going to do. We want transparency in the NIL deals, and they didn't release one single document.
Who did?
Nobody.
Okay, then.
Because they're all cheating.
Okay, then. So It's not like Alabama was like, no, we're not releasing it.
No, he's the one that
no one did.
He's the one that said it. He called
So-
for transparency.
That's fine. Be transparent when everybody else is. If not one person, not Tennessee, not Texas
Whoa.
A&M, not Kentucky,
Whoa.
not one person released their stuff. So you want to give away your stuff, but not have anybody else reciprocate?
If you call for transparency, yes. Coach Lance, am I
So
wrong?
basically, all you want is for Alabama to
you're not wrong.
lose at any point in any way possible. That's what you're saying.
That's not at all what I'm saying. Worst
Yes, you are. You're saying you
That
want
is
Alabama.
Lance, is that not the worst conclusion in the history of man?
No, you want Alabama to be completely transparent, but nobody else.
Yes, if they call everybody else out, help me, Coach Lance.
They didn't call everybody else out. They called out Texas A&M.
Help me, Coach Lance.
I don't even know where to go with you two. Although I'm on Team Dave today, Amanda. I'm sorry.
It's fine. The bias
Team
is
Dave.
strong with you two, and it's fine.
The bias is strong with us.
Yeah.
Does anybody sense the irony?
If you're
not
Bama,
irony.
you have to be okay with a target being on your back from other fan bases and other people that are going to be, coming up with things like this. But
Clearly.
Well,
However, what you say is false, especially with the whole Alabama didn't release anything transparent. Of course they didn't. Why would they? Why would they?
Because
Nobody
they
else
asked
was.
for it. That I just answered your question.
Okay.
Because
But if they ask for it, but they don't get it, then why would they do the same thing? Like, why would they put it out there? If they ask for other people to be transparent, but nobody is.
Well, they didn't know that nobody was not going to be when they got the FOIA request. But nevertheless, we shall move on. Coach Lance, what's cracking with you today? You wore some crazy hooker shirt recently. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. I got you guys like hundreds of thousands of views wearing that shirt and pointing people to go buy their shirts. Get their hooker at davehooker.com, whatever it is.
It's
not what it is it?
.com, either one.
Off the Sports.
Off the Hook Sports or
Off the Hook Sports, yeah.
Off,
Sorry.
On,
yeah.
off,
Yeah, it's
whatever.
going good. I'm disappointed that I was not selected as the guest picker on College Game Day. So
I am disappointed about that as well, because when it comes to star power, the Manning cast has nothing on Coach Lance.
That's true. I mean, Peyton Manning, he's great and stuff, but I mean, I really am undefeated, and so why would you not have somebody on your show that's literally never lost and is extremely handsome?
What do you think? But for realsies for a second, Coach Lance, what is your record again in your middle school team?
Yeah, 150-0.
Okay. So you have no qualms about going in front of the media because you're perfect, which makes perfect sense.
So easy. Yeah.
But most athletes aren't. But what do you make about, in all sincerity, what do you make about Peyton Manning's decision to want to do this? Because I'm sure he's been asked about 5,200 times.
Yeah. In all seriousness, I'm glad he's doing it. Tennessee fans have this crazy curse they want to talk about with every time Peyton comes to a game, we lose. But I think, we're breaking that curse. We've broken some other curses this year. And I'm excited for Peyton to do it. He's going to pick Tennessee. He's going to generate some great viewership for game day. It's going to be fun. The fans will be excited that he's there. It's great. Peyton, man, he's the best. I'm in. I'm all in.
Yeah, and I don't think people that maybe don't really know football realize how much he changed the game. And David Cutcliffe changed the game at the NFL. He was his offensive coordinator with the freeze plays. He had 2 calls at every single play. I'm not going to get into the Brady Manning comparison, but you're talking about one of the transcendental players of all time. And
absolutely, yeah. One of the best brains in the entire game, yeah, I'm sure I'm biased, but I mean, could he have as many rings as Brady if he had the team and that Brady had? I mean, probably, but he did a lot with what he had to work with. So yeah, Peyton's definitely one of the best ever, and I'm excited he's going to be there. It's lining up just right, Dave and Amanda. We've got game day there. Peyton's there. Are we doing this orange out thing? We're wearing nothing but orange, so it's
Yeah, they're running out of ideas.
Does that? Yeah. So the stars are aligning.
Why not just checkerboard Neyland again? That worked out well. That's
That was
really
fun.
cool looking. Why would you not just do that again? Like Penn State does the white out. They don't change it to the blue out. Like, why wouldn't you just stick to what's working?
Because Tennessee fans are never content. That's why.
You have a gray shirt on. What would you think about a gray out?
It's true. No, you can get this at CoachLanceDecker.com. No, I do not like the gray out at all. No. Our colors are orange and white. That's what we need. The smoky gray and the dark mode stuff is like special occasion, really cool. But everybody wants to mix up the uniforms and let's do gray helmets with orange shirts and white pants. No. We need the white helmet with the power tee, and then occasionally, for a reason, dive into something exciting like dark mode or smoky grays. That's my opinion.
What's the game closest to Halloween? I don't have Tennessee's schedule.
Georgia.
Right.
No, Georgia's right after.
It's
Georgia's
Kentucky.
on the 5th.
Kentucky?
Okay.
Maybe.
See, you were just like an official in an Alabama game. You just sided with the first thing that came to your mind, which would be Alabama.
These comments are coming in here today, Amanda. They're lighting you up. It's great.
That's fine. I don't care.
You see what I did there?
I did.
All the way around. I'm most proud of myself, Coach Lance.
Yeah, you should.
That's shocking because you're always proud of yourself. So that's very weird.
There's a lot of truth to that. All right. Let's get to message board bingo.
I'm proud of you, Dave.
Thank you, Coach Lance. The second most proud of me other than myself. Allow myself to introduce myself. All right. So, Coach Lance, here we go. We're going to play message board bingo, and I love it when you're on because I get off the hot seat. I'm terrible at this. Brittany says it's Kentucky, November 29th. Thank you, Brittany. So, November 29th. Yeah, I think she means October 29th. So,
Brittany.
let's do like a great big pumpkin out. Like, let's do, like right under the Vols thing. Or you could take the Vols thing, the VOLS, the sign, make it green, and that could be like the stem.
You know what would be cool is if everybody dressed in like certain like things. So it would just spell Dave Hooker across.
That would be
Dave Hooker.
Okay, the Dave out. The hooker.
Yeah,
the hooker out.
Yeah, the hook. Yeah,
the hooker out. That sounds great.
Be a lot of hookers in one stadium there. Too much.
Well, it is Halloween. So
it is.
That's fair.
I'm gonna dress up like Dave for Halloween and just say I'm going as a hooker for Halloween.
Me too.
All right.
Amanda's so done with us. She's like, these two men are too much today.
I think men on my end is a little bit of a stretch.
It is. It very much is. So,
all right, message board bingo. If you can tell us on the message board what team had this, what board this was posted on by what fan base, then you can win a t-shirt. Or
what fan base made this comment?
What fan base made this comment?
Okay.
Like worldwide award-winning craft beers. It took me a while.
Maybe we win in a shootout, but seems more wishful thinking than anything. I'm okay with a hard-fought loss. I just hope we compete.
Amanda said hard fart loss. I just want everybody to know
that's what happened.
But
I'm not gonna let that go.
I didn't throw a flag because she's out. She roots for Alabama, so I didn't throw a penalty flag on that. I just let it go. Okay. All right. So, who's the school? Hard part.
Oh gosh. So this is my favorite show so far. Okay.
That's pretty good. I've only lost it like a half dozen times in my career where I couldn't.
I'm going with David here, who guessed Kentucky. That's what I'm thinking.
All right. What about Kentucky? Is it Kentucky, Amanda?
It is not.
Okay. Who else you got? Do you want Georgia? Is it Georgia? David says Georgia.
Why would Georgia want to win in a shootout and be okay with a hard fought loss?
Yes.
Brian's saying nothing worse than a hard-fought loss.
Gosh, bless. I'm done with you guys. It's 7 o'clock right now.
You can have an aneurysm, I hear, from that type of loss.
What?
That's a lot happening at one time. Yeah.
I think that's what happened to Elvis.
The wheels are officially off.
The wheels have officially come off.
They've been off for a hot minute.
It's been a long week. All right. Sam goes to LSU. David says South Carolina. Do we have any winners there?
No, it is Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Oh, Oklahoma.
Where the sun beats down upon the range.
I don't know if anybody can understand what you are saying right now. Get it together, man. We're
level.
live. Get it together.
I'm like Mariano Rivera. I'm throwing heat. Here comes the cutter.
I don't think so. Has there been any official discussion with Texas?
Speaking of officials.
Jesus. With Texas that they cannot be called UT when they're in the SEC because we already have a UT.
I'm gonna I don't have
Why
to
don't you wait? Why don't you wait?
Are we waiting on our friends?
Yeah, the friends.
They have 10 seconds to get it correct, or you get to get it correct. And I think I know who this is.
Amanda, will you repeat it one more time?
Has there been any official discussion with Texas that they cannot be called UT when they're in the SEC because we already have a UT?
The first thing
Clearly an SEC team.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Clue number 1.
I would actually go with Tennessee. What would you go with, Coach Lance?
Well, that's what I was going to go with, but since you said it, I'm going to go with Vanderbilt.
No one else guessing?
Trevor has Kentucky. Brittany has Texas A&M. They're obsessed with Texas.
Brittany is correct.
Nice.
Brittany, we'll hook you up with a T-shirt or barbecue supplies or whichever you want. So do we have time for one more, or do we have to wait to get it reviewed? And which, of course, we know that it's going to go Alabama.
I'm going to quit.
This is Amanda's last show, everyone. Thank you. Being part of
everybody have a good life.
It's I did have a couple of friends who hosted a show in Florida, and the program director came in and said, I just want to let you guys know we're canceling your show. It's going to be your last show, but I've got to go on vacation. So I'm telling you before the show instead of after.
That was dumb.
But you can't say anything. And so they played This Is the End as bumper music repeatedly by the Doors.
Why would he say you can't say anything when they're getting let go anyway? That's like telling somebody it's your last day at work, but please, I'm gonna let you know you're fired. But please, before I let you know that you're fired, take the day and call the clients and try to make as many sales as you can. Like, who's gonna do that?
Or it's like an official on Saturday telling a Tennessee player, I know you didn't commit this penalty, but I'm gonna throw the flag because it's Alabama.
Are you done?
That's a diamond comparison. Yeah, that's good.
All right, last one. What we got, Amanda?
One of the people on TOS said he ran into one of the head recruiting guys at 24/7 and asked him why Arch is still number 1. Basically told him they are being paid by the Mannings to keep him number 1.
I don't know. I can't imagine. Is that
I have an idea.
Like refs, they're being paid under the table, apparently.
I will go Tennessee's conclusion that nobody drew except for you. But okay, so I will say Tennessee.
That sounds like a Kentucky fan. I'm wrong.
All right, who is it? Who we got?
Did nobody else guess?
Anybody on the message board? Brandon says, don't let me play anymore. Vols Time says Peyton Manning. It's actually with an E, not an A. Is going to be the college game day guest picker. That is true. Jimmy says Alabama. Was it Alabama?
No, it is Ohio State.
State. Why would they care about Nico or
They don't care about Nico. It's just Arch.
Oh, well, my thinking was that somebody at Tennessee would say Arch is number one over Nico because of some other reason, because they want Nico to be number one. That's where I was going.
Ohio State cares because their fans think that they're the greatest thing that's ever been made on the earth. So they're like, obviously, Arch is going to want to come to Ohio State, and they're being paid off to not, whatever.
Exactly.
Well, that's what they think. They think everybody's being paid off except for them, when in reality, they're one of the top schools that do things like that.
I will just go ahead and say this. Everybody is getting paid, and they have been getting paid for about 50 years.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna share the name, but he is probably in his mid 70s or close to 80. And we were talking about now, and we were talking about him back in his day, and said, "What do you think it's like? All these guys getting paid nowadays?" Because there had been some report, and he goes, "Oh, that was happening back in the 60s, easy."
Yeah, they write check. I've actually seen this happen. They write, and this is not like I'm reporting it. I know it. I've witnessed it.
Then you are.
They write. No, this is not like I'm not accusing someone of doing it. I know it's happening. Is what I'm saying.
You were there.
Yes, they write checks to a friend or something like that. The friend cashes it and gives the cash to the player. That's how it happens all the time. Or they give people cars, put it in somebody's name, they transfer the title over.
Well, the great one was the Cam Newton thing, where his dad was a preacher to church. So they just dropped it in the
till.
In the till, in the bowl when they pass it around, and
the offering plate. That's there you go.
Offering plate. Yeah.
Yeah. At Auburn.
What do you think God thinks about that? He's not very fond of it, the same way Alabama officials aren't very fond of the teams they play.
You speak the truth. This is
all right.
How
I
long
don't
can we do
even
this?
care that I don't even care that it's Alabama, but to say that officials get paid off for anybody is ridiculous.
Oh, I don't think they get paid.
Except for Vegas. I think I would make a hard argument that there are times Vegas always wins, and there's a reason for that. You can call holding, pass interference, or like basically blocking the back any time on the football field.
The easiest sport to throw is obviously boxing. The second easiest is basketball. And it's not that you miss shots, you just don't play defense. That's how you throw basketball games. It's pretty easy. And football maybe is a little bit more difficult. I don't know.
You just miss a tackle. How is that? That's not difficult.
Baseball.
Just let somebody hit the crap out of your quarterback.
You got to make sure it doesn't look obvious. Anyway, there probably is a gambling scandal ongoing right now that we don't know of. That's, we didn't know the Tim Donaghy thing until he talked about how much he loved Alabama. All right, so Coach Lance, let's go ahead and make a pick. What do you got going on? How do you see this game shaking out?
Well, I think what's the spread? It's like 13?
7.
7.5.
7. I thought it was okay. All right. Well, in Alabama's favor. So I think the Vols win. The Vols win. I'm a little nervous because everybody is big on the Vols winning this game, which I don't like. I'd rather us be more underdogs than we are. But I think we'll be fired up. I think we are good enough to play with Alabama and to beat Alabama, and I think we will cover the spread. We will win, and I think we'll win by at least one touchdown.
Okay, so
score, I don't know. I'm thinking, I think we're going to hit 40, so maybe like a 41, 34, something like that.
All right, Amanda, you know more about officials than most people. So are we allowed to pick with a Bryce Young playing the full 60 minutes? Can we do or do we have to just come out and pick, you and me? What do we have to do?
I think we can pick with Bryce Young playing the full 60 minutes because he tried to come in at the Texas A&M game at the end, and they wouldn't let him.
I guess what I'm asking is, can we, like, if for some reason we all think he's going to play, but if he doesn't play or he gets replaced by Jalen Milroe, can I make two different picks, I guess is what I'm asking, or do we want to stick with the one to make it clean?
No, you stick with one, because that would be like, if Will Anderson gets Hendon Hooker and knocks him out.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be the same thing. So
sure. I would definitely, if I thought it was Milroe, I would definitely take Tennessee, and I would take Tennessee by actually 10. Sounds crazy. But I think Bryce Young, and we visited with Blake Topmeyer about that, who is the SEC columnist for Gannett. I thought he brought up a great point. That guy's a put on the cake guy like Michael Jordan. You know, he overcomes a lot. So with Bryce Young in there, not to break Tennessee's fans' hearts here, but first of all, I'm terrible at picking games, so you should want me to pick against Tennessee. I do think that Tennessee is very respectable, but I think Alabama ends up winning by a field goal in that 41. I'm going to say that 37-34 range. I think that Alabama wins, and then Tennessee looks good, and it's not going to feel great right after. It's not going to feel good on Sunday, but it's going to be one of those where you look back and say that was a stepping stone. That's how I see this game playing out. Amanda, you?
So I do want to say with the whole, you said that there's no motivation. And I'm just going to say that what they do is they print out the stories and paste them all over the locker room.
They do that everywhere. Can we get a pick?
I know, but you're saying that they don't think about it. No, they do. Okay, well, then everybody's motivated by stuff like that.
Yeah, I think during the week, but I don't think it affects when you start the game. Can we get a pick?
Yes, you can. It's going to be 42-35, and I'm not telling you who's who because I don't bet on Alabama, and I'm not going to do it. So there you go. 42-35 is my final score prediction.
Somebody wins 42-35.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
We're glad we hung on for that. It's like Jimmy the Greek's in town. What about that
Alabama pick, Amanda? That's definitely an Alabama pick. I'll say it for you. You're picking
No,
Bama.
it's not.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll talk to you on Monday and find out. It also gives her the opportunity to say she was right either way.
That's true. That is smart. That's
No,
smart.
I've only just picked the score. So unless it's 42-35, I'm not right.
Kevin says she's so pissed.
I will not be here Monday, everyone, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So
I am gonna take Alabama. Like I said, 37-34 over Tennessee, but I think the officials account for at least 18 points. Thank you. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Check us out on Off the Hook Sports. I love you, Amanda. Have a fantastic day, Coach Lance. We'll see about Tennessee. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the game.
Vols.
I said yesterday, Tennessee fans, you deserve this. Get over the battered ball syndrome. You're going to play well. You might not win, but you're going to play well, and you're a contender once again. That means they may well do that. Off the Hook Sports, that's been a presentation of that very thing. Have a fantastic